Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
So here we are at the California Sacramento Car Museum, and I'm here with Jim.
Jim Kellogg, right?
Nice to meet you, Jim. Very good. Now, what I asked Jim to do is to take us around to some of his favorite cars, because there's just so many here. I'll take them all, but they won't let me do that. So why don't we start with, you said, this is one of your favorite cars.
Oh,
right?
yes. Well, all the cars that are in here have their own story.
Sure.
This one is kind of unique, I think. It's the very first year that the Model T was built. It came out in 1908, and you look at the car and you've heard the story about, well, you can get any color you want as long as it's black, right?
Right.
But this car is red.
Yeah, I see that.
That started out with colors. And then they used an enamel originally, and so then they found, though, that if they painted them black, that they absorbed the heat more readily, and therefore they could up the production of the vehicles by using the black paint.
I see, okay.
But a little bit later on, then DuPont developed the lacquer, and that could dry even much more quickly than the heat absorbing in the black. So,
I see.
Then they went back to colors again.
Okay, so this one is in red, and this is what year?
1908.
1908.
Very first year that they were built.
Very first year.
And they built only 15 million Model Ts.
Only 15?
Only 15 million, yeah.
Wow.
Up to 1927.
Excellent. Well, it's a beauty, that's for sure. Now, are these solid tires?
No, they're not. They're all inflatable tires. You notice they're white.
Yes, right.
They are originally made out of the material of, I got a drop out here.
Some kind of rubber. Let's see, what is it?
Latex.
Latex.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so it's made of latex.
And that's why they're white.
Oh, okay.
But they found that the tires didn't wear that well because they had no tread on them, basically, but they hadn't designed any tires with tread at that point. So they added lamp black and one other material, and they found that the tires not only were easy to keep clean because there were a lot of horses around at the time, but they also wore better. So now, when we get to the next car, I'll let you look at the tires on that, and you'll see what they did.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, let's go see the next car. Which one are we going to show? Over here?
These two over here.
Okay.
And if you take a look at the tire tread on this tire right here.
Well, yeah, it's very aggressive. Now, what's this say on here? It says something, doesn't it? It's
non-skid on it.
Non-skid. Could you guys see that? It actually says non-skid. That's pretty good.
But this car is also a little bit different because as are many of the cars that were around in earlier days, this gentleman that built this car, produced this car, his name was Carter.
Carter, okay.
And so this is obviously, there's a lot of people that are not familiar with a Carter car.
I'm not sure I ever heard of a Carter car. Yeah.
Well, you got an example.
Now we got to see with it. Now, do you know what the production number was on this?
No, I don't have it.
Yeah, probably not very high, though, right?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But you may notice also the headlamps that is on many of the earlier cars are not electric because they didn't have them at that time. So they had a couple of different methods of being able to illuminate the headlights. You'll see a tank sitting on the side over there.
Right.
And the tank is used to supply the gas for the headlights.
So they were gas-fired headlights.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And this is called a Metz. And you'll see a tank sitting on the side of that as well.
Right.
And the lower part of the tank has two materials in it. It's carbide material in the bottom, and there's water in the top. So in order to get the gas to run the headlights, what you do is you turn the valve on the top. Well, first of all, you open the headlight doors. They have a hinge on them, as do these here.
Right.
And then you turn the water valve on. It drops down on the carbide material, and then what it does is it generates the gas for the headlights. So when you hear it hissing up here, then you take a match and you light the headlights.
Oh, wow. I wonder how many guys blew up on that one.
Yeah, well, if you had a little singeing probably.
Yeah,
at least.
probably, huh?
The other thing that's kind of interesting, and the only two cars in the museum that we have here that have this on it, is the type of transmission that it has in it. If you move up here a little bit,
Yeah.
you can look down, and we have a mirror underneath.
Oh yes, I see
there,
that. Mm-hmm.
and you see this, see the silver wheel there that's going
Right,
across.
right.
That's directly attached to the engine, and you'll see right behind that there's a smaller wheel, and that wheel, when you move the gear shift lever, that smaller wheel moves in and out on the larger disc there, and it's called a variable speed transmission.
I see.
And if you move the wheel to the other side, then you can get those speeds in reverse.
My goodness. So this car was really actually ahead of its time.
A little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. And normally there is a pan that goes over this, but to show you this.
Sure. Right.
And this car is also equipped with that same transmission.
That's amazing. I'll tell you what, that's really neat. All right.
Okay, so just a little look
Yeah,
at a couple
on
of the
the
cars
older
here.
ones, yeah, these are really neat. So that's excellent. What else do we have that you'd like to show us?
Well, I can show you this Cadillac up here.
Okay.
This is a 1912 Cadillac. It's one of the very first cars to get an electric starter. And if you look at it closely, you'll notice that it has all electric lights on it as well.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So just a quick story about how this came about. Carter, on the car we just saw over there, was also a very close friend of the gentleman that developed Cadillac. So the two were driving along, and they came to a bridge, and there was a damsel in distress on the bridge.
Okay.
There was a gal with a Model T, and she had stalled the car.
Okay.
So Carter got out of the car and went over to help her, and he failed to notice that the levers that are up on the steering wheel, one is for the spark or advance, and the
Right.
other is for the throttle,
Right.
that they were both advanced. So he tried to crank the car. When he did, he broke his arm, and because it kicked back on him, it came over, hit his jaw, broke
Yep.
his jaw.
I know the story. Yeah.
Oh, you
yeah,
have heard this?
I have heard the story, but keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I remember the story, and that's where they started thinking we need to get away from this hand crank situation.
You got it.
Right?
And so then at this point, Kettering said, we're going to have electric starters on this. So this is the first year that they came out with an electric starter. And this actually it got developed between Kettering, who was with Cadillac, and also the Detroit Electric Company, or Delco.
Oh.
So that's
okay.
the two that corroborated to get this electric starter going. And the starter is probably about this long, and it's about that square, and is also used as a generator in the car.
How about that? That was pretty smart. So
Yeah,
not only could they start the car,
1912,
not only could they start the car, but they could run the not electronics then, electrical then, and
Sure.
On the same device. That was pretty smart.
Yeah.
They really.
There were a
had-
couple other manufacturers that did that. Dodge did that, but theirs was a belt-driven one.
Oh, I see.
But this is gear-driven.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
We have a program here. We have several programs that we do, and they're instructional programs. We have children's programs, as well as ones for adults. In this particular case, we use this car for our maintenance and drivability program.
Oh, okay.
Because on a Model T there are 3 pedals, there's no shift lever in them. And so you have to work the pedals to drive the car. It gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
The left pedal, for example, when you push that all the way down, that's low gear. Everybody thinks it's a clutch. So you pull in your garage, and you think you're pushing in the clutch, and you continue out through the back of the garage.
Oh, no.
I mentioned the 3 pedals.
Yep.
And you push this one down all the way, that gave you low gear.
Okay.
And then when it popped out all the way, as you see here, then that gave you high gear. Somewhere in the middle, depending on who adjusted it last, is neutral.
Okay.
So now if you want to go to reverse, this is the reverse pedal here. So you would find neutral in here somewhere and then hold this pedal down. And
Okay.
while you back up. Okay, now the other pedal over here, the remaining pedal is the brake.
Okay.
And actually what happens here, you can see in here, this moves a little bit.
Yeah. I can
And
see that.
it's kind of stiff right there right
yeah,
now.
uh-huh.
But the idea being here, that's the very last drum in the transmission, and what's attached to that is the output shaft that hooks to the drive shaft. So you don't have any brakes on the wheels as such. And when you step on the brake like this, what you're doing is you're stopping the drive shaft, and sometimes it stops.
Sometimes. Not always where you wanted it to, right?
That's true. Really happy to see it. This is a Willys Knight. Probably not well known by a lot of people at all, but the engine in it is quite different. Most engines are reciprocating engines. They have pistons that go up and down in the cylinders, and they have valves either above or in the block to operate it. But this is called, it's a double sliding sleeve engine. And we can show you a little bit of this right here. This is actually the camshaft that you're looking at here.
Right.
These little rods are connecting rods, but they're connecting to, as you see here, to two sleeves. And down here at the bottom, that would be the journal on a crank. And then the rod would be going up in here, and then there'd be a piston inside this sleeve. So as it turns, what happens? These sleeves line up like this. For example, you see the ports are open, much like it would be in a two-cycle engine.
Okay.
So you're going to have, we'll just call this the intake stroke. It looks more like an exhaust to me, but we'll call it intake. And you just go through the 4 strokes in. You have intake, then you have compression, then you have ignition,
right,
and then you have exhaust.
Uh-huh.
So just between the two sleeves, the ports align and perform those functions as though they were valves.
It's interesting. I wonder, I mean, that is definitely a unique engineering feat. There must be a reason that we got away from doing this.
Cost of production.
It was just too much.
Yeah.
Interesting, because that is a real novel idea.
That's right. And it's one of the only companies that ever built it this way.
Yeah, I had never seen that before.
Yep,
Willys, it's pretty. So it's all been kind of redone. This looks like a fairly nice restoration done on this car. Yeah,
yes.
Beautiful.
One other car I'd really like to show you, because it is very unique, and it's this maroon one that's sitting over here. It's a few years back, Cadillac decided that they were going to have a lower priced car, and they called it a LaSalle.
Okay.
And the car sold very well. So Buick kind of saw this going on, so they said, you know what, maybe we can do the same thing. So they were going to bring this out. They decided to bring it out in about 1930, and they were going to make it $1,000 for the car. They accomplished it. They got the car in production, and in 1929 was not September of 29 was not a good time to introduce a car.
Yes.
And this one was called the Marquette. This particular car is our car. It was donated to us by the owner. He had got to a point in his life where he was unable to continue to work on the car, and he just was a little nervous about driving the car as well.
Right.
So he donated it to us, and we received many cars that way as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car. It's important that we get the public to know that you guys are here, and that's part of the reason Old Guy Tech TV decided to come out here and do some filming and spend a little time with you.
Well, we greatly appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much, Jim.
Okay.
It was great to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, and you know what? We had a great time here at the Sacramento Car Museum. Why don't you make an opportunity to come see it yourself? It's very, very impressive. Thanks for watching. This is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV. This episode of Old Guy Tech TV is brought to you by Ward's Automotive, specializing in Banks Power and Pack Brake, servicing your car or truck and specializing in diesel engines. Over 30 years of service, located in Diamond Springs, California. Give them a call at 530-626-5588.